Parashat Ki Tisa. I love this parasha because my dear boy was born in it. Actually, he's not a boy anymore, he's a grown man. Very handsome for you girls, he's still available, you know. So, there's a question in this parasha. Everybody, of course, will talk about the egel, about this, about that. I'm going to start with a different angle of things. And the question is, why wasn't... That's good, yeah, all right. The question is, why wasn't the face of Moshe glowing when he came down from the mountain the first time, but then on the second time he did? You have an answer?
No.
Okay, good. So there was a rabbi that lived, if I'm not mistaken, I think around the 12th century in France, if I'm not mistaken, in Orléans in France. He was a Talmud of Rabbeinu Tam. His name is Rabbi. No? No.
Meir Ben.
No. Rabbi Yosef Bechor Shor. Yeah. So he has two angles on that, and that's like a thing that I was always fascinated. What's this whole glowing of the face? What became radioactive? What happens there? You should know the Gemara talks about it as well, but there's many reasons for that. And it says that Ve'i beredet Moshe mihar Sinai v'shna luchot ha'edut beyado beyad Moshe beredeto min ha'ar u'Moshe lo yadai. Moshe did not know that his face was glowing. Well, you know, when people were talking, he had no awareness of that. He wasn't aware of that. So those psukim that finish the parasha really talk about this wonderful description of what happened to Moshe Rabbeinu with his face that is glowing. And Rashi lichora does not really refers to this question like, you know, it's like such a, you know, directly, in a direct way. But we could really understand clearly what his opinion about the matter. So Rashi wrote that from where did Moshe Rabbeinu merited those beaming lights from his face? What happened to him over there? So Rashi says, Rabotenu Amru, our sages says, Mina Me'ara, because we know that Moshe Rabbeinu stayed in the cave, you know, for receiving the Torah. So that's from the Me'ara, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put his hand on his face when he says, show me yourself. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu kind of covered his face. So from that, his face was glowing. The Re'em, Rabbeinu Eliyahu Mizrahi, which was maybe the biggest maybe the most important commentator on Rashi himself, and that's what he does. He understands that this is really what Rashi was saying, and Rashi was saying, from where did Moshe Rabbeinu merit this thing? And he writes the following: Meichan zacha Moshe lekarnei haor. From where did Moshe receive that shining light? Achshav beredeto min ha'ar b'yom HaKippurim. Now that he came down on Yom Kippur, Moshe lo zacha, when he did not merit, and the first time when he came down on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz. It says, "Ve'alo kvar ne'ena miziv hashchina b'arba'im yom harishonim, kmo b'arba'im yom hashlishim." He was already up in heaven, so he should have been glowing already from whatever it is. Why did it happen then and not here? And this is also what the Maharal in Gur Aryeh writes, Me'echan zacha. In other words, why did he merit it in the second luchot, in the second tablets, and not in the first one? And as we said, as we saw before, that from Rashi, the answer of Rashi, that it really has the source of those glowing, beaming light from Moshe Rabbeinu has nothing to do with the luchot themselves, but rather with an event that happened before the luchot. Before they give him the luchot. And Rabbi Yosef Bechor Shor had these two different answers for that. Why did Moshe merit that? And according to the first tshuva, that has to do between the difference between the first luchot and the second luchot. Right? And he writes the following: Velachen amar karan. Right? Karan, lo koren, karan b'lshon avar. In a past sentence. Why? Lefisha luchot harishonot, the first tablets were given bekole kolot. with great noise and the whole fireworks, pyrotechnics events going on. And this one was given in secret, bechashai. So Hera Kadosh Baruch Hu shegam el kedoshot. So Kadosh Baruch Hu made it that the face of Moshe Rabbeinu would glow to show the people that these luchot are just as holy as the first ones. There's something unique about it as well. And what the face that the reason what the face of Moshe Rabbeinu glowing was because of the glory of the Shekhinah when he received it. That kind of resonated on him, and that's why he was glowing. And he writes, "She'arei hivik ziv Moshe miziv Shekhinah kishekibla." And the reason why it's glowing, he brings Mechosho because his face was glowing due to the Shekhinah that given them. So people would not say, "Oh, Moshe Rabbeinu wrote it all by himself." The second time he went, yeah, God gave him the thing. God gave him the Torah, but he broke it. But this one, listen, he wrote it on himself. You see, there's an order. No. This is also as a result of Hakadosh Baruch Hu. So that's why it's glowing. And the second answer of Rabbi Yosef Bechor Shor says that those beams of lights will only happen in the second luchot. And it says that event that happened between the first luchot and the second luchot was no other than Chet HaEgel, making the golden calf. Making the golden calf, but it was a big event, and there is so much written on it, and there's so much to learn from it, but I don't really want to concentrate on it now. I'm going to look back into this. So before we're going to answer, we'll see what's the issue that Rabbi Yosef ben Bechor Shor represents. So we need to understand what does it say regarding to the intent of Bnei Israel when they made the golden calf. And the request of Am Yisrael from Aharon was, get up and make us a God in which will walk in front of us. Why? Ki zeh Moshe Ha'ish, this Moses, the man, Asher he'elanu me'eretz Mitzrayim, which brought us upon from the land of Egypt, Lo yadanu ma hayalo. We don't know what in the world had happened to him. It disappeared. So now you got to be very careful with that statement. It says, when we say, right, ve'yaviu oto lifnei Elokim, right? They didn't bring it in front of God, right? Elokim in this terms means something that is very important. In other words, please make us a shofet v'dayan, somebody who will be able to judge us, because we can't live without law and order. We need a leader, we need a manhig, we need a leader, and we need somebody that would speak on our behalf to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We can't go on like this without somebody like that. And it says, as we know that, because it says, K'mo nitaticha Elokim b'fnei Paro. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe that I'm going to make you into he used the word Elokim, but that really means something else. It doesn't mean that I'll make you into a God. No human being can become God. We all need to understand that. Thinking that a human could become God is idol worshiping in any shape or form. Even if it's through a Holy Trinity, is a form of avodah zarah, of idol worshiping. Any combination other than God himself, the one and only, King of all kings, any other form, giving any other power as an individual power to anything else in the universe other than God is idol worshiping. Let's understand that. Nobody can generate power to himself. Nobody can do anything. And if you and with as powerful as you are, you could be even like greater than Putin. If your time to go has come, there's nothing you can do to extend your time. You're gone. Everybody's gone. And we need to remember that. So when the Torah uses the word Elokim, in this case, means a person of great importance that is also has some great authority to act upon, and so on and so forth. So that's what it is. So that's when we know that. So Moshe Rabbeinu was not And it says, and there's other examples. It says, "V'chas v'shalom," he says, God forbid, the Jews did not mean for idol worshiping. They just wanted somebody to lead them on because they understood, right, that a nation needs a leader. Somebody sent me today, I think it was George. By the way, before I forget, this year is dedicated first of all to the refuah shlema of Yitzchak ben Esther HaKohen. Kadosh Baruch Hu should send them refuah shlema, מהירה בכל רמ"ח איבריו וכל שס"ה גידיו ויקום חזק ואיתן במהרה לעבודת הבורא, אמן כן יהי רצון. That's first of all, very good. Second, this is also dedicated to the great help of our good friends Mike, Karen, and the other code name George that was supposed to be here, but I guess he went to call to some, since he's a tier 1 operator, probably went to some undercover job beyond enemy lines, so he couldn't make it today. But we're very thankful. And
Leilui Nishmat Hinda Gittel Bat Chaim Yitzchak Halevi.
Oh, that's a long name. And Leilui Nishmat Hinda Gittel Bat Chaim Yitzchak Halevi, and to Braina Bat Reina, and everybody else that should have whatever needs to happen to make it good. Of course, to the neshama should have an aliyah. Apropos that, now that I got you on hold 1 second, on a cliffhanger, so you should know, you can reach us at rabbigaon@gmail.com. If you have any questions, you can join us on Facebook. No, Facebook. We have Facebook? Yes. Oh, Facebook also. Whatever it's called today. Instagram, YouTube. What else? And by the way, all those people on Instagram, and yet they can write to us as well if they have questions. Our NCOs here will direct the questions to us, and then we'll gladly answer you. We also have a Yeshiva website, which is yeshiva.etzion.com, and there's a section there you can see our merchandise. If you want to be a part of the team, our team is JSAR, Jewish Search and Rescue, because no Jew left behind. Needless to say, being abandoned or being thrown behind the bus. You know what I mean. So now, going back to that, they Jews did not want to have a God. They understood that a nation needs a leader, somebody who would be an authoritative figure. And somebody sent me, as I said to you, that was George. They sent me a beautiful thing. It says there, you know, it's a sign from like a diner. It says, all benefits, whatever for President Day is not valid until they find an appropriate president, or until we find a president. So they need somebody. A nation without a leader will fall apart. We need a leader. So we right away go to the rhetoric of what we know about Bnei Israel. Oh, idol worshippers, and so on and so forth. But it's not necessarily so. They just maybe wanted a leader, just a leader. So now let's look at and why is that? Because it says Kizeh Moshe Haish, Moses, the man. Einenu, he's not here, and we need somebody for everything to fall apart. You know how people are. And by the way, that's something that you need to prevent, is always do not be involved with drama and hysteria. People love dramas. People love hysteria. People like to create things. Say, okay, I heard you, and move on. That's it, enough. Life is not like a soap opera from Argentina from 1980s. You know, it's like less drama. Let's get going. It's okay. People like to create chaos. People like to create drama. And if you want to be able to function, you know, like a soldier, you need to be able to cut the drama and concentrate on the task ahead, and you know, be able to function. Otherwise, you can't. And that's one of the way, by the way, that we don't function, is because there's always so much drama around, so much hysteria about everything. Remember the times that people were fighting to buy toilet paper because of quarantine? Quarantine, right? You know? Take a bath in Lysol and all kind of stuff like this, right? You remember that? Remember that time? No, what happened to that? You know, just don't worry about it. Okay? So then it says, of course, it says, "V'mochiach dekamai," right? Ki zeh ish Moshe enenu. So therefore, they wanted to replace somebody of Bnei Israel. They didn't want to replace, God forbid, God and to create them an idol. They wanted a leader. And the intent was, based on the word Elohim, in other words, a person with authority, a leader with authority to him, a figure that has, so that's what it says. Aser lanu Elohim. In other words, let's look at this in a different way. Buddy, Aaron, get us a leader. Find somebody, make us a leader. Who would know better than you who is appropriate to become a leader of the Jewish people? By the way, guys, without mentioning name, Mazal Tov. Buddy, we got your back here. Don't worry about it. Do you ever get a T-shirt or a thing from us? A sweatshirt? What are you, extra large or a double XL?
XL.
XL? All right, billionaire, you come again, I'll get you a T-shirt. You might need a double XL, but it's okay. Double XL, it's good. The world needs some double XL people. We don't need like guys with skinny jeans, We're gonna need double XLs, guys. That's good. So, it says, in other words, give us a leader. And the proof of that, Rabbi Yosef Bechor Shor says, from the continuation of the words, which they says, Kizeh Moshe Aish Asher Elanu Mitzrayim. We know that Moshe is gone. We don't know what happened to him. In other words, we need to find a substitute. So he says that he asked, what were the options who would be appropriate to step into the shoes of Moshe Rabbeinu? So, okay, we'll get to Aaron. So first of all was Kalev ben Yefuneh, right? Kalev was a big leader. The other one was
Yeshua.
close.
Son?
Nachshon ben Aminadav. Nachshon ben Aminadav, that's an example of what a leader should be doing. I mean, he showed everybody leadership qualities when he says, okay guys, stop whining, let's jump into the ocean. He says us to go, we'll go. Not only he went in, he jumped in. Right? I'm sorry? No. When the thing split, there was an earthquake right now. Don't worry, it's okay. It's an earthquake. No panic. No hysteria. So he jumped in. He was a leader. Now, which one of you, and why did the Torah tell us all the stories? Of course, to tell you, there will be situations in your life that you would stand like, the enemies are standing there behind you, the ocean is ahead of you, and what are you going to do? To sit there and whine and cry? No, you got to be a leader. Even to yourself. These are stories for yourself. And believe me, there are going to be plenty times in your life that you will have to act upon as Nachshon ben Aminadav. Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu is not going to help you sitting there whining. Get up and do something. Then by doing so, you're creating the opportunity for Kadosh Baruch Hu to do so. Because then you're going to say, you forced us in. So no. The miracle will happen because we allow the miracle to happen. We don't force the miracle in nature. We can't do that. So, or maybe one of the other great people, the Gdoilim, as they said, right? They didn't have Gdoilim there, they had Gdolim. Gdolei Ador, right? They were all Sfari at the time. So, but Aaron, since it was Mechaven L'Shem Shamayim, Aaron was really, right? He understood that if he's going to nominate somebody else as a leader, when Moshe Rabbeinu will come, that would create a conflict. Because imagine, Aaron knew that Moshe Rabbeinu was going to come down. He's going to come down. There's no doubt about it. He knew it. He had bitachon, he had emunah. He didn't lose faith. So he said he's going to come down. Now what am I going to do? Well, Naftali Bennett and Bibi Netanyahu all over again. What's like Cassius Clay against Muhammad, Joe Fraser? What's going to be here? We can't have it. So he said that's not going to happen because it's going to create such conflict. It's going to split the people into two. It's going to split the people. That we can't do it. And by the way, unfortunately, the leaders today don't understand that, and they gain their power by dividing the people, not uniting the people. And that should tell you that right away they are not true leaders. They're not true leaders. A true leader would understand, would know that in order to win and execute the mission, he needs to have everybody behind him. Everybody from all sides behind him. They all are committed to the one mission. Not one is pulling this way, one pulling that way. There's no such thing like a bipartisan. Well, bipartisan. It means that we have two sides, that we're working together about two sides. No, we're all together for the one task. Whether it's make America great again, or I don't know, whatever. Win the Super Bowl. You gotta all do it all together. You gotta all pull out our weights. And take, for example, every time that a nation was together, then the miracle happens. Am Israel in Har Sinai, the Jews in 1967, they were all together, and so on and so forth. And we put together and we will manage. It sounds a cliche, but it's so so truthful. The concept is united we stay, divided we fall. I mean, that's ultimately like this. When you go on a mission, when you go to battle, you got to make sure the guy behind you, and the guy next to you, and the guy on the other side of you, and the head of you his head is only on the mission. All fights, all arguments, all stuff like this, all difference of opinion and different styles, all put aside when there's the mission ahead of us. And we should understand that together as a nation, that we all have to unite together. Not to push some crazy agendas to somebody else to get to sit into office and to do nothing besides eating cake and getting fat. That's what Aaron knew that. Aaron says it can't be two people. You want to divide the nation, having two people like this. One group will be with Moshe, other group will be with whoever there will be, and some other people will be in between, and then you're going to have, a whole battle. It's going to fall apart. So he understood that, right? So, and there could be even shfichat damim. There could be bloodshed over this thing. We always say that. He himself also, Aaron did not want to suggest himself as a potential substitute until he will come. Why? Because he was afraid Yikshah davar beinem Moshe. It's going to be Moshe is going to come down with bitter taste in his mouth. It's listen, you're my brother. That's what you do to me. I'm God. You're taking what's going on here? It's going to be very difficult. So the solution of Aharon was, okay, guys, you know what? Not a problem. Let me keep him busy. Let me keep him busy with things and stuff like this. We'll make a big kumbaya over there. We'll sit down in the fire pit. We'll make some barbecue and some, do some arts and crafts, until Moshe Rabbeinu will come. And then, I'll do something that it's going to be like nothing. And then Moshe Rabbeinu is going to come. They're going to forget about this whole entire thing. But nominating a person instead of Moshe would create only problems. So therefore, it really tried to delay them. So that's what he thought. That's his reasoning behind what Aaron. So I think that his approach. And by the way, Rabbi Yosef Bechor Shor was known in his Pirush Torah Lefi Pshat. Every now and then he touched a little bit on some midrashim, but he wasn't a midrashi guy to begin with. Not kind of guy. He was Lefi Pshat. And I just simply love his approach to the Chet HaEgel because it's different. It's unique. We all know that, according to, of course, thanks to Hollywood and some other, it's all about like a big orgy of sin over there and drinking. But Lemaise, it wasn't like that. It wasn't the whole entire nation. Some people took advantage out of the, let's say, 3 million Jews that were there. About 3,000 people took advantage of the situation, and now they turn everybody into basically spectators. Nobody could say, hey, listen, guys, what in the world are you doing? And these are the 3,000 people who got punished. But all Am Yisrael didn't. What did Am Yisrael get punished for? For the fact that they sat down, sitting quiet, when they knew that something wrong was done, they didn't say anything about it. And that's another lesson to learn. Okay? So let's go now to the second Shuvah of Rabbi Yosef Bechor Shor. Right? The question is why only the second Luchot he get it? And he writes, וגם יש לומר, you also have to say, לפי שרצו להעמיד ראש אחר במקום משה, since they wanted to nominate somebody else against, instead of Moshe Rabbeinu, הראה להם הקדוש ברוך הוא showed them, דהיו מלא זיו השכינה, that he is full of spiritual energy and divine providence on him, ואין להעמיד אחר. And nobody should be nominated instead of Moshe, במקומו, אלא על פי השכינה. Unless God tells you, nominate him. Right? And that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe, take Yehoshua. And now it makes sense how we should go about nominating. Yet I'm sorry to tell you, democracy, according to Halacha, doesn't really work like that. But if you remember, this is also how the difference between the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Shmuel to pick Shaul versus David. Shaul was a good-looking guy. He picked them a guy that they're going to say, oh, wow, he's tall, he's handsome, and so on and so forth. Came David, like a real redhead kid, and it wasn't like the best good-looking guy, It was a short guy with red head. Shaul was a figure. Shaul was a figure. Imagine, like, I don't know, Clint Eastwood versus Mel Brooks, something like that.
Now?
Well, in terms of looks, right? We're gonna go. I don't know. I don't like Woody Allen, but you get the drift, right? So it has to be according to God. So when Mashiach comes, we are not going to nominate Mashiach, Habibi. I don't care how long your beard is. I don't care what numbers are in your house that you live in. You cannot nominate yourself as Mashiach, nor could your Hasidim nominate you as Mashiach. You need to have a prophet that would tell you through prophecy that this is the will of God, that guy will be Mashiach. I mean, imagine what will happen if all of a sudden comes a guy, he shows you a certificate from the OU, all the Ashgacha, I'm Eliyahu Hanavi, Shalom, my name is Eliyahu Hanavi, nice to meet you. Now he's going to say, okay, may I introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen? Everybody say, oh, Eliyahu, here's a Yofi. Let me introduce to you Mashiach. Bechavod, Mula Avner, Bechavod, here's Mashiach. You say, hey, מה זה, איפה הרבי, איפה זה? You don't want to be Mashiach? All right. Do you understand what I'm saying? All of a sudden, people say, no, it's not. You need to understand, God is the one who's going to tell you who He is, not you, not your Rebbe, not your Hasidim, not your Rosh Yeshiva, nobody. It has to have a prophet, Mipi Shechina only. So, and the reason is because there's nobody there that is you could substitute Moshe Rabbeinu too. And only after the Chet HaEgel that really came from the will to exchange the leadership of Moshe Rabbeinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu rewarded Moshe with what we call Karnei Ho, to show that he is really Maleh Shechina. Yes, there are other people who are quite qualified to become leaders, and different types of leaders. There are military leaders and so on and so forth. But a leader of the army, of the nation, has to be and can only be Moshe Rabbeinu, and that could be only based on what God says, because he needs to communicate with God. You don't pose your will on God. And you see it. I mean, there were military leaders that were nominated, throughout history, whether it's Avner ben Ner, or Yoav ben Tzuriah, or it was Kalev ben Yefuneh, or whoever. It was there based on the skill sets. This is different. Being the leader of Am Yisrael needs to be different. So, and also, it shows that, of course, Moshe Rabbeinu has nobody to substitute. That's why we still call him Moshe Rabbeinu, our rabbi. Moshe Rabbeinu, our rabbi. So, and that expression, Ki karan or panav, comes 3 times in the Torah in different psukim, and it says also together with the word with the meeting that he had with HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. And so when he came down, and then, it talks about 3 times it says the thing. So it gives an expression also, according to some Mefarshim, that those luchot could be also written in a certain type of glowing script or material that is simply reflected on the thing of Moshe Rabbeinu. And Egel HaZahav, which was done in sin and Chet, really represented a divine presence. Therefore, the glowing face of Moshe Rabbeinu were a substitute to the people to know that that this is the real thing. Instead of the gold, the shining gold of the Egel, you have the shining face of Moshe Rabbeinu. So that's one explanation. The Rambam explains that the face of Moshe Rabbeinu was glowing because HaKadosh Baruch Hu elevated him to a level of a malach, of an angel. And it says, Nikshara da'ato letzur ha'olamim ve'lo nistalech be'alav ha'od le'olam וקרן אור פניו ונתקדש כמלאך. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu attached his whole entity to Ribbono Shalom, to the will of God. So when he went up, he got so close to Ribbono Shalom, to God, that he basically gave up on this world. And because of that, he became like an angel. In other words, what does it mean a person becomes an angel? It means that he has two little wings and he has like a bow and arrow and shoots people? No, what does it mean an angel?
No physical needs.
Not only physical needs, something else. An angel would not do what he wants to do. He only executes what God tells him to do. However, Moshe Rabbeinu was elevated to such level that he had free choice. And willingly he gave up his choice that his will will be, that God's will be his will. So he made himself to be like an angel. Look at what we could achieve. We could achieve the same level, or similar level, that the will of God will be our will. And look what we are missing when we are selfish and we don't do that. When we want to do what we want to do, regardless of what, look what we're missing. It's possible. Moshe Rabbeinu is an example that it's possible, and the Rambam writes it as well. You could be like Moshe Rabbeinu, not in prophecy, because that's not up to you, not in humbleness, because he was a unique example, but you could be as tzaddik as Moshe Rabbeinu. You could strive to do that, and you'll be. And if you haven't become, it's most likely you didn't really want it.
Moshe Rabbeinu of our generation, or Moshe Rabbeinu?
Moshe Rabbeinu. Look at the Rambam, Alachot Shuvah, right? Perek Hey Alachot Shuvah. About that, if you want, you could be. You could be a tzaddik like Moshe Rabbeinu, Chas v'Shalom Rasha Kmo Yerovam. Whatever you decide, it's up to you. Yes, Moshe Rabbeinu, not a prophet and not humble, but on that level, in terms of you make God's will your will, and that's it. End of the story. Which is fascinating for me. It's so. There's also different types of explanation. Why is that? And with the thing. But I just want to bring you a very interesting explanation. The Ibn Ezra brings the explanation of Chivi Abilchi. He was a guy that lived somewhere in Iraq. What was Iraq today? He says that the face of Moshe Rabbeinu, now he plays on the words. He says, Karan Panav. Keren is either a beam, or to glow, or a horn, exactly. So the Ibn Ezra says, based on this explanation of Chavia Bilchi, that the face of Moshe Rabbeinu became dry as horn. Why? Because he did not eat bread while he was on the mountain. So his face his skin changed, and the people were afraid to get to him because his face became really unbearable sight. And the Ibn Ezra is asking on this explanation, and he dismisses that with great disgrace. Right? He completely pushes that explanation. But nevertheless, it's an interesting thing. The Rashbam also rejects the concept of the popular concept that he actually had horns, physical horns, and he writes the following: "Hamedamel lekarnei re'em karnav eino ela shoteh." A person thinks that Moshe Rabbeinu had a set of horns like Michelangelo, when he had set of horns like this. He says he's a fool. Because he says, "Oh, panav lo karnav, lo tzimech karnayim." He didn't grow horns. I mean, so if you think so, you're a fool. Oh, right? However, a different explanation is the Ralbag brought, and it says it's not, of course, regular horns, but it is an analogy for the superior and pure sechel, intellect that he had of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he became so deep and became so focused that he did not see the people coming close to him, and because of that, people were afraid to get to him. He was so focused. I don't know if you've seen people like that. that I've seen people learning Torah. I mean, people that really belong to the old generation, the pre-war generation. I mean, you couldn't. One person like this also was. I didn't see him, but I heard from my people who've seen him that's how he was. I heard a story one time about Rabbi Ovadia Yosef. He had a driver when he was a chief rabbi. He was a driver. So he brought him to the apartment in what is it? No, where do you live? In Arnov. He lived like this. So he said to him, he pressed the button. The guy, waiting for the elevator to come, and the driver went away. And he pressed the button for Rabbi Ovadia. And Rabbi Ovadia was reading a book. Reading the book. It was, I don't know, like 1 o'clock at night, something like this. The guy came in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. He says, "Oh, I'm sorry to make you wait." He said, "Wait, what's going on? Why? I didn't wait." So the driver says, "Oh my goodness, you stayed here all this time." He didn't realize that he was into his learning. They say that when Rabbi Ovadia used to go on the bus when he was young, the driver, because in Israel at the time you had a line, so there was a designated driver for that line. The driver used to know where he goes up and where he goes off. He said, "Chacham Ovadia, yeah, it's time to go and get off the bus." So I've seen people like this also with my own eyes. They're like, and they're not losing their mind. They were like, "Sana chaz v'shalom." They were deep into the learning. They were so deep, so people were intimidated to get close to such a person. It's really year out when you see a big Rosh Yeshiva learning and this whole thing in it. Somebody once told me he saw Rav Shach. He was in Panovich. So he saw Rav Shach. So Rav Shach was sitting like this on his stender, and he was, contemplating or something. So came to him a Bachor and asked him a question. He says, "Kvod Harav, Kvod Harav, Kvod Harav," nothing. He said, "Closer, closer." He was really on top of him. All of a sudden, Rav Shach said, "Wow!" He didn't realize he was so deep into that. And people were like amazing, look at him. So that's intimidating. So Moshe was so focused in Avodat Hashem, in the duty that he had for the people, in the depth that he found in the Torah, people were intimidated getting close to him. So therefore, as according to that, the cover that Moshe Rabbeinu put on his face is not a physical cover, but rather an expression that he had for his effort to kind of remove the distance that it seems to make the people more accessible to him. So he had to put something on him that the people would not actually see what it is. So people would say, "Excuse me, Moshe Rabbeinu." I say, yes, I hear you. So I think it's really, this whole story is really for me a tremendous lesson. And I think there was a guy, he's an American dude, or rabbi, whatever, that wrote a book about Moshe Rabbeinu, like a leadership book. He's an American guy that I think lives in Israel. I really don't remember his name. And somebody told me, because I said to you one time we should take the story of Moshe and analyze it as a leadership book. So he did something for like a life coach book based on Moshe Rabbeinu. But believe me, there's tremendous lesson to learn from this behavior. And I think especially this in our time today, this sugya that I tried to bring up to you, could really, if we internalize it appropriately, really help us get over the little bumps on the road, the little hiccups on the road that we have, to execute what we need to do, to get the mission done. Our problem is that we allow too many external distractions from the outside to create a barrier or delays and in a way fail our missions, that we need to do, each one to our own. And our job not only is to do our mission, our individual mission, our job is also to help our friends complete their mission, because their mission ultimately is our mission as well. I forgot who said that. I don't know who said it, and I don't know when they said it, but I'll tell you that. The wolf is known to be a fierce animal, but the wolf is as strong as the pack, and the pack is as strong as the wolf. We need to strengthen ourselves, and we need to strengthen our friends, so we'll be able to get the job done. Because when you have a wolf pack, it is a killing machine. Nothing can stand in its way. They get the mission done. Rarely you see a pack of wolves that are failing in their mission. The concept of a lone wolf is a miserable concept, because what will happen is you're never going to get anything done. A lone wolf cannot kill a moose, but a pack could. We need to get the job done. We need to make sure that our internal spiritual resilience is up to date. We, as much as we exercise physically, we need to exercise our spirit, our integrity, spiritual integrity, individually, and to make sure that our bodies around us are also intact, operating with us in harmony. And that's when we say, Hashem, Oz le'amo yiten. Hashem, God will give us the fight, the ability to the resilience, the might. How? When Hashem will give us shalom, will give us harmony. Hashem, Oz le'amo yiten, Hashem yevarech ledamo b'shalom. The biggest bracha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can give Am Yisrael is harmony. That we all know, regardless of our job and our place and our placement in the team, we are all important. And that's the biggest bracha. Shabbat Shalom.